Welcome to Lesson 5 of the Python Crash Course. So far we've looked at integers, floats, and strings. Now let's look at Boolean types. In the most simple terms, a Boolean type can have one of two values, true or false. That's it, no tricks. How do we assign Boolean type variables? Simple. Let's look at an example in Jupyter Notebooks. This crash course is awesome. We'll set that equal to true. Obviously, I'm a bit biased. And this crash course is not awesome is equal to false. There you go. Booleans in a nutshell. For starters, I highly recommend your variable names be a lot shorter than this. But regardless, we'll go with this for the sake of example. Can this get harder? Of course. The way I just assigned these booleans isn't very useful. Normally, comparison operators like less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to or not equal to, these comparison operators are often used to return a bool value, instead of us hard coding something to be true or false. For example, if I set comparison operation is equal to 1 is greater than 2, and I print it, print comparison operation, it gives back false, because indeed 1 is not bigger than 2. That is a false statement. If I replace it with smaller than, it gives back true. Along with comparison operators, we can use logical operators. The three logical operators we'll use are AND, OR, and NOT. Let's start with OR. If I set comparison operation equal to 1 is smaller than 2, or 2 is smaller than 3, this gives back true, because indeed both comparisons are true. 1 is smaller than 2, and 2 is smaller than 3. If I switch this to 2 is bigger than 3, even though this expression is false, even though we know that 2 is not bigger than 3, this entire operation will still evaluate the true, since with the OR operator, only one of the expressions must be true, and indeed this one is. If I run this, we indeed still get true. However, with the AND operator, if one of these conditions is not true, then the value will return false. Both the first expression and the second expression, they must both be true. We can prove this by running the code, which prints out false, and makes sense, since both comparisons must be true with the AND operator, and indeed this is not the case. 2 is not bigger than 3. However, with the OR operator, as long as one of them is true, then it returns a value of true. The last logical operator we'll look at is the NOT operator. What this does is it flips the bool value. For example, set comparison operation is equal to 1 is smaller than 2. We know that this is 100% true. We know 1 is smaller than 2. But if we add NOT, it flips the bool value to false, giving us false. That is all for Booleans. So far, we've covered 4 fundamental data types: Booleans, strings, integers, and floats. I will see you in the next video.